Was the meeting posted?
Yes.
First on the agenda.
Commission will now take up matters to do with special one-day license applications for malt beverages and wine only. Applications by the Reverend Charles J. Hughes of St. Anthony Parish at 893 Central Street. The event being Our Lady of the Fatima Feast at the Parish Hall at 920 Central Street for Friday, May 13th from 5 p.m. to 12 midnight and Saturday, May 14th, 2011 from 11 a.m. to 12 midnight. Also, the event, the St. Anthony Feast, will be held in the parking lot of St. Anthony's Church at 893 Central Street. That'll be Saturday, June 4th, 11 a.m. to 12 midnight, and Sunday, June 5th, 2011 from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Also, George J. Laganis of the Transfiguration Greek Orthodox Church for premises at 25 Father John Sarantos Way, this being the Grecian Festival 2011 on the church grounds, starting with Friday, June 24th, 2011, 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., Saturday, June 25th, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Sunday, June 26, 2011, from 12 noon to 6 p.m. Also, well, should I stop there?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just going to recuse myself.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, on this issue.
Oh, okay. Reverend Hughes, George, if you come up, introduce yourself for the record, please.
I'm Father Hughes, the pastor at St. Anthony's Church on Central Street.
Thank you, Father.
And I'm George Laganis from the Transfiguration Greek Orthodox Church.
Okay. Both of you have done this before. This isn't anything new. I don't think that we've ever had a complaint against either one of you.
That's good.
Make sure you make the weather nice, Father.
I will.
And say a prayer for the Greeks, too, you know, they got okay. I'll make a motion, we approve.
And I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor say yes.
Yes, good luck.
Okay, hope the weather's great for you. Wait, we're gonna do your sound in a second. Next.
Commission will now take up an application for a special one-day license for all alcoholic beverages, Hallie Dick, for Saturday, April 30, 2011, from 3 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Open studios at 126 Merrimack Street, second floor.
Is Hallie Vick here? Come up to the mic, please. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Hallie.
All right, is this your first time doing this?
Yes.
What are you raising money for?
Well, we're opening up studios on Merrimack Street, and we're hoping to cover some of the costs of renovation. And we've put a lot of work and a lot of money into it so far, so hoping to make some of that back to cover those costs.
Can you just describe what kind of,
Studio.
you run a nonprofit organization that's some kind of outreach to?
Well, we're hoping, I mean, right now we have an incorporation for Enable Passion, which is we want to open an after school and a summer school program, but it's basically like we're not going to be able to do it in that building, so we're going to be doing hopefully going into like some of the other nonprofits in the area and doing after school programs like that there. So it's arts-based. Civic education through the arts is really what we're focusing on.
How many studios do you have there?
Right now we have 10 artists.
There's 10 studios?
Yep.
Okay, and how long have you been there?
This is the grand opening. So literally, this is like the first month that we're actually
Now, do
gonna be
people
open.
live there besides, or is this just
It's just
day
working
studios
artists.
and they go and do their art or whatever
Yep.
and leave it, nobody lives in the building?
Nobody lives in the building now.
Okay. Do you have an, yeah,
Thing is, with the nonprofit, it has to be organized under 180.
Right.
And Hallie, when I spoke to you the other day, I wanted to get back to you on that, on the matter of your application.
Okay.
And the status of your nonprofit,
Yep.
it has to be under a Chapter 180 organization. Is that what you have?
We have 501c3 status.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you provide me with a copy of that for the record?
Yeah, I can
Okay,
do that.
great.
The only reason for that is that, under the law, you can only get a one-day license for all alcohol if it's a nonprofit organization, otherwise it's limited to beer and wine.
Okay.
So that's the reason that we're asking that question, and that's why I asked you to describe the business. So,
Okay.
Okay, now, just describe I'm kind of concerned if this is on the second floor.
Yep.
What's on the first floor?
Actually, Frankie's shop is down there. Humanity, it's directly above Humanity
Okay,
and Mr. Jalapeno.
okay. All right. Is this broken up into little rooms?
There's two separate rooms. There's one room that's specifically that's studios and working artists, and then where this will be taking place is in the other room, which is in like an empty room.
Okay. And what is your occupancy in there?
Yeah,
How many
you know
people?
what? I would have to get back to you about the occupancy because I'm not sure of that. I'd have to talk to the landlord about it.
Okay. Is the building sprinkled?
Yep.
Okay.
Everything's up to code. All the renovation work we just got done.
All right. You got to understand that there's a tremendous, is it an elevator goes up or stairs?
It's stairs.
Stairs, okay. There's a tremendous amount of liability here. I hope you know what but I want to be sure that we make you aware of it. You've got a
Yes.
tremendous amount of responsibility. People that are going to, obviously you're going to advertise this, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, people are going to come in. They're going to probably come in groups.
Yes.
2 or 3 people. One's going to be 18, 19, or 20. Somebody's going to say, oh, give them a drink. Don't worry about it. They'll never know. Whoever you have on that bar serving,
That's going to be me.
okay, well, then it's going to be you because
Yeah.
the license is going to be in your name
Absolutely.
if
yeah.
we grant it,
Yep.
okay? Have you ever worked as a bartender?
I'm currently a bartender at Garcia Brogan's.
At where?
Garcia Brogan's? It's
The
on.
new garage up the
Oh,
street.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Middlesex
Oh,
Street,
okay.
yep, the,
I had my teeth fixed. My hearing's not working
that's
well.
okay.
So you got to kind of bear with me, okay?
Sure.
He doesn't get out.
Well, then you're experienced at it, so you know what I'm saying.
Yes,
Because there's
absolutely, I do.
always somebody out there, that's
Oh,
just,
they try and try. Yeah.
and then you go down the stairs and they fall,
Yep.
okay? And nobody ever stands up and says, you know what, it's my fault, because I bought him the drink. I shouldn't have, but I did. They say, oh, no, that bartender served him.
Yep.
And that's the bartender's fault, so we're going to sue her and make sure, so as long as, and we don't say that to discourage you. We want to see people run things. We want activity in the city.
Of course.
But we also have to be ever alert every moment of what we're doing and what we're exposing ourselves to. So I would have if you're not going to have a policeman in the building, which we're not going to require, but you certainly could. If you're not, I would definitely say to you, program your phone to the Lowell Police Department.
Okay.
Not to 911.
Okay.
911 is not going to help you in the short term because when you dial 911, it's going to go to Framingham.
Oh,
And they're going to say, what city or town are you calling from?
Yeah.
And by the time you get done explaining that, the operator at 911 in Framingham is going to call back to Lowell. And it just, a waste of time. Call the local police department. The moment you think something's going wrong, remember this, no matter what anybody tells you, it's your license, nobody else's.
Yeah.
If you think for any reason at all that things are getting out of hand, you just say, you know what, it's my license, and I'm going home. Close the bar, period.
Yep.
End of statement. Okay?
Sounds like a plan.
All right. You have any
Very
questions?
familiar with cutting people off.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good
guys.
luck.
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna recuse myself again.
Again?
It's gonna
Why'd
be
you
silent.
bother coming? Next.
Commissioner will now open a matter to do with applications for special event permits for amplification of sound. First being the Middlesex Community College. Mary Jo Griffin is the Director of Public Affairs, representative for sound system for live music, disc jockey, public address for the campus Spring Fling to be held at the campus quad adjacent to the Middlesex Community College City Campus at 33 County Square, Friday, May 13, 2011, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Is Mary Jo Griffin here? Is not present. Okay.
Anybody from Middlesex Community College?
St. Anthony, Reverend St. Anthony Parish, Reverend Charles J. Hughes, pastor, the representative. sound system for band and/or disc jockey for the St. Anthony Feast to be held in the church parking lot for Saturday, June 4th, 11 a.m. to 12 midnight, and Sunday, June 5th, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Also, the Transfiguration Greek Orthodox Church, George J. Leganis representative for the sound system for bands on the church grounds at 25 Father John Sarantis Way, the Grecian Festival 2011, for Friday, June 24th, 5 p.m. to 11 p.m., Saturday, June 25th, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Sunday, June 26th, 2011, 12 noon to 6 p.m. And also Stella LLC, Patricia Brokaw, manager, the doing business as Centro, the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee at 24 Market Street, a sound system for live music at the sidewalk seating area, a seasonal permit for Wednesdays beginning in April through October 2011 from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay, if you just come up and introduce yourself at the lectern, please.
I'm Father Hughes from St. Anthony's Parish.
George Leganis, Transfiguration Greek Orthodox Church.
Patty Brokoff, Centro Restaurant.
Okay, I'm going to just, to make sure the record is crystal clear, I'm going to just declare the fact that I belong to the Lowell Rotary Club, and the Lowell Rotary Club meets at Patty's Restaurant on Tuesday. That's my only contact with Patty, but I just want, in case somebody has any problem with that. And the food is great. Okay.
I'll declare I've eaten there as well, and I agree.
Okay. Look, it's real simple. You know, if the people 5 blocks away can hear the music, something's wrong. That's a sound license, common sense license. That's what I like to call it. Common sense says that the people that are there want to enjoy it. The people that are 5 blocks away want peace and quiet. So it's that simple. So, you know, if you start to think that somebody's, you know, cranking the tunes, take a little walk down and just, you know, hey, Phil, and then we're all old enough to know. I mean, we're of the generation, we have very sensitive ears. Right, Father? See that? Okay. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say yes.
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 Good luck.
Good luck. Is this one right next door to the other one? No, I read it. Do we have the map, Ryan?
It's all right.
Next on the agenda.
Commission will now open a hearing, a public hearing on the application by Benjamin Faso, doing business as Bright Angkor Market, for a malt beverage and wine only package store license for premises at 624 Gorham Street, that being a corner store market for approximately 1,269 square feet.
Introduce yourself for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Jocelyn Campbell. I'm an attorney, and I represent Mr. Benjamin Faso, who's with me today.
Hello, sir. My name is Benjamin Faisal.
He's doing business as the Bright Angkor Market in Lowell.
Right. Okay, I've driven by there. It's like two stores from another liquor store. I don't know, there's just, it just seems like there's one on top of another, and I don't think that there's really a need for another, beer and wine license right next door.
Under the law, you have to demonstrate that there's a public need. Can you do that for us?
Well, I don't
Pull the mic
have-
down a little.
Yes, okay, bend it down a
Thank
little
you.
bit.
Thank you.
Perhaps I could have Mike, would you like to hear from my client?
Certainly.
They'd like to hear about the need for the beer and wine license for the community and also for yourself.
Yes, sir. As we request for apply for beer and wine to sell because we need to afford for the business because business right now is so slow and we cannot earn any money, so we can need another extent for beer and wine. We can sell for grocery in the grocery.
I'd like to-
My question is, I don't really care about your business personally. I want to know, why does the public need another beer and wine shop in your location?
Could I address that?
Sure.
Sure.
Great. One of the things that my client has told me is that his market is very specific. It's a Cambodian market. As you can tell, he is of Cambodian heritage, and he speaks English and Khmer. And he services a specific segment of the population, the Cambodian population here in Lowell. He has a pretty good following, high clientele, and many customers have expressed to him, it's a shame that you don't sell beer and wine because we would come here for that product rather than going to another store. I think it would be helpful to the members of the community that service his store to be able to obtain beer and wine from his store.
Is the product going to be specialized towards the Asian market, or is it going to be Budweiser and Bud Light and Miller Lite, or is it going to be a combination of both? Because, I mean, you have Mama Jason's, which is right around the corner, and you have the new store right on Gorham Street down by the Superior Courthouse. There's another store right on the corner of Back Central Street. So there's an abundance of alcohol available in that location. So, what would make yours different than theirs?
What would make your beer and wine different from the ones?
Is he going to sell like just foreign,
Microbrews or?
Or you would just sell
Southeast Asian beer or wine, or,
specific
is that,
combination? He believes he would sell a combination if he's afforded this license. He'd want to be able to service the public at large as well. He's been at that location for about 5 years now and has built up quite a following. So it would help the business and I believe help the community as well if he could be afforded that license.
We have to open it up for a public hearing. We have to open it up.
yeah, I'm going to open. You want to say anything first?
No, it's open up.
Okay, we're going to open it up to the public. If you just want to step aside for a couple of moments.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to ask anybody who wants to speak in favor of this license. In favor? In favor. That portion of the hearing's closed. Anybody want to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? That portion of the hearing's closed.
You can come on back up.
Come back up.
I'm going to disclose, I'm very familiar with the location. I can tell you that I go past it every morning on my way to work because I live about 2 blocks away. What is going to change with these hours as far as operation? My concern is there's not a lot of, well, it's not that there's not a lot of parking, there's no parking in that neighborhood. I mean, literally. You know, you've got to park pretty much over by the Lowell connector in order to be able to get anywhere. And by the time you're doing that, you're already at another store. The only parking is at the other liquor store.
Actually, on Gorham Street, Mr. Commissioner, there is parking on either side of the street on Gorham. I know
And
it's-
there's also a large housing development right there that relies on all-street parking and is full. I could go there right now and I can tell you there's no spots. I can tell you at 2 o'clock in the morning there's no spots. At 10 in the morning there's no spots. And, you know, there are people literally in the winter weather, there were cars abandoned all over the place. I mean, I know the area.
I know you do. I can tell you too that I've actually been to the store many times, and I generally park either right across the street on Gorham or almost in front of the uniform shop on the other side. So I don't usually have a problem parking. How do your clients feel about parking?
We have a 15-minute park on the front of the Gorham Street.
And Mr. Fazo is telling me that there's an actual sign, correct?
Yes.
For 15-minute parking on Gorham Street, right in front of his store. So there's dedicated parking for him, for the people that want to come in and purchase from his store.
We already have them there.
You already have that
Yes.
there, correct?
Yes.
Right. I've been to the store several times, and he's actually gone to great lengths to rearrange the store in the event and the hope of getting this license, and made a special location in the store just for beer and wine, and done a lot of work to prepare for it and internally.
Has your client ever had a beer? Excuse me. Has your client ever had a beer and wine license or had any sort of alcoholic beverage license?
No, he has not, and I wrote no on the application. but I
Have
did
you
already
done
ask.
it? Have you done any training, taking a tips class, any proactive measure to prove that you have the ability to handle such license?
He hasn't taken that yet, but he's aware of it, and I've talked with him about it. And matter of fact, although Mr. Fazo's English is pretty good, better than most people I speak to, there's another member of the community that I've talked to, and we've all talked together. So he's well aware. I thought there might be some questions today, so he knows what he has to do. He understands about not selling to people who are under 21.
Yep.
He knows the rules. He has 2 young children. He lives in Lowell. He's been here for a very long time and very dedicated to the community. He's a member of the temple, serves the community in a lot of different fashions.
What's your pleasure?
I mean, I'd call the question and put it to a vote, but I can't see the need where literally with a putter, I could hit the next store. I don't even need to go to a wedge.
Yeah, I mean, my concern with this is I'm sure you run a great business, but I haven't, you know, I asked you to demonstrate a public need, and I don't hear a public need personally. I'm familiar with the area, and, you know, there are numerous locations. You know, I know you didn't do this, but, you know, a lot of times when people come in here for licenses, they have petitions from customers saying that they want this beer and wine. There are people that come, you know, I would have round up some of your customers and said, please come at 3 o'clock. I know it's a hard time on a Thursday, but if you want this license, there's need to be a demonstration of need. There was no one that came and spoke in favor, and to me, you didn't meet that demonstration of public need. So my inclination would be to vote not to approve the license.
Mr. Commissioner, could I add to that
Sure.
briefly?
Yeah.
Mr. Fazo would have done that had he known that was a possibility for today, and I don't believe he knew that. But if we could continue the hearing, I do believe there were at least half a dozen or more customers who would come in and vouch for him had he spoke to them and asked them to. There is a language barrier, which might be another reason why, that if anyone read about it in the paper, they may not understand because the paper was only in English. But we could certainly put that out to the customer community and ask them to come in. Further, I would suggest that, well, you don't see a need specifically right now. There is a difference between the other store and himself. As I said, that because he is a Cambodian market, strictly servicing that particular segment of the population, and also it would help to serve the community if he could be there to sell this item, and he has a good record there at the store.
I mean, if you would ask for a continuance before the hearing, I think that may be a possibility, but we've had the hearing. He was smart enough to hire an attorney who's capable of presenting the license, and, you know, he was smart enough to apply for this license, so he should have, you know, you said how great his English was, and then you said, well, there's a language barrier you know, to getting people here, so, you know, my inclination would be to call it to a vote, but it's, you know.
All right. I'll make the motion to vote on the license.
Motion made, seconded. All in favor, say yes. Opposed, say no.
No?
No.
No.
They're not gonna let you have it.
Okay?
Thank you for your application.
Thank you.
No. You stack 'em one.
The public section was opened and closed.
Right.
Have you
ever seen this one before?
What's this one?
Next item on the agenda is the matter to do with an application by the corporation known as CEC Entertainment, Inc., doing business as Chuck E. Cheese. Michael Karras is the manager of record, a malt beverage and wine only restaurant licensee at 209 Plain Street. The request by the corporation is to change its corporate officer, that is the corporate officer being the treasurer. Mr. Karras is here to address and answer any questions there may be for the matter.
Introduce yourself for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Michael Karras.
When you say change of corporate office, treasurer,
Yes.
treasurer of the local franchise, or what do we?
Our Chuck E. Cheese location is corporately owned. We're based out of Irving, Texas. We are publicly owned. However, we have multiple officers, and I think 8 of them show up on our liquor license somehow. One of them's retiring currently. Somebody new is stepping in.
Okay.
As far as our day-to-day operations involving the liquor license, people in Texas never see it.
Yeah.
I oversee our day-to-day operations as far as IDing, who's serving, who's cleaning up. There won't be any current change.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
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 Appreciate it.
You
Thank
guys
Council.
run a good shop.
We try. Thank you so much.
Very good. And my grandson loves you. Next on the agenda. Oh, this is the DNA. You know, you son of a...
You know what? I drew.
Commission will now take up the matter to do with an application by the corporation or the limited liability company known as Ideal Global Solutions, LLC. Sanghap Rowan is the manager, for a secondhand articles license for premises at 296 West Fifth Street.
Introduce yourself for the record.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Seng Hapruan.
Hiền Khánh. My name is Dean Mau. Han Tu.
Okay. Excuse me? Have you had your meeting with the police department?
Yes, we did, sir.
Okay. Who's going to be the spokesman?
I can be a
All right, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions.
Sure.
All right? I bring you in a television set, color, flat screen. Tell me, I want to take $100 on it. What do you do?
No. Any item that bring to the store, we will not buy it directly from you without an ID, indicating all the receipt or information that you got from somewhere. If you buy from Best Buy, make sure you have that receipt to bring to us in order for us to buy it.
Okay, so I bring you a Best Buy receipt, and I got this TV set. What are you going to do?
Make sure you have the ID with you.
Yeah.
And match with the receipt that you actually buy it, that belong to you.
Yeah.
If not attached to that or
I
it's
put
not,
it on my credit card.
I cannot accept it, sir. Sorry.
Why?
There's a lot of burglary around in the neighborhood. If I buy any item from you, I have to buy some from somebody else as well too. So I have to report every item that I buy to the police department by 10 o'clock tomorrow.
That's all I wanted to hear.
You know what, guys? This is your third time here.
And you made it.
That was good. That was perfect.
That was exactly what we wanted you to say. That's the most important. Every day, every day.
You get the ID, you report to the police.
You take the
every
ID,
day.
you take the serial number. Myself personally, if I was running a second, I'd take a picture of the person. If they don't want their picture taken, that might tell you something. I don't know. But
We create a template like this.
There you
Attach
go.
with a picture.
That's beautiful.
Then before we turn in
Good.
the item.
That's perfect. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
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 And you guys must be doing a good business, because I drove through Couple Square yesterday. There's a line out the door, people getting their taxes done, so good job. Keep it going.
Are
Thank
they
you so
getting
much.
any money back? That's what I want to know.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Oh, yeah. What's this one?
Super Bowl.
Oh, the claim. This,
We shall now open a hearing on the allegation of misconduct as charged by Kenneth E. LaValle, the Superintendent of Police, against the following licensee: Lowell, Inc., the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee, doing business as Super Bowl Restaurant and Pub at 1733 Middlesex Street. Hong Fang is the manager of record. Licensee is alleged to have served intoxicated patrons on March 5th, 2011. That being the case, it would be a violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 69.
Just before we start, what is their status right now? Are they have any probation, or, because I know they've been in here multiple times, so.
Frankly, I don't know whether there was a probation on the last action of the board. The question is, had it expired December 31st? I don't know. It's possible that it had.
Okay.
okay. Introduce yourself for the record, please.
Okay, my name is Hong Pham. Most people call me Peter. I'm a student at the University of Massachusetts Lowell and a manager at the Super Bowl restaurant.
Okay.
My name is Hong Pham. It's a Super Bowl owner.
Okay.
Before we begin, I have 2 documents that I'd like to share with the commission.
Sure.
Okay.
Just bring them.
This one's the one that we're talking about right now, and this is the second.
Yeah, you gotta do one and then the other, because that's what they do this time.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right, yeah, we were just discussing, by the rules, we have to do them as 2 separate hearings, okay?
I understand.
And that's just because we're not allowed to blur the records.
Yep.
All right. Well, let me ask,
When you have something like this, you should get it to us ahead of time.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm
You know,
sorry.
no, that's okay. I'm just, the next time, maybe there won't be a next time, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to read what you got here. I want to be as fair as we possibly can be.
well, why don't we also call the police up, and if you'd like to start.
Yes, good afternoon, sirs. For the record, I'm Lieutenant Frank Rowan. I'm a member of the Lowell Police Department, filling in for Captain Jonathan Webb today at the proceedings. We have Sergeant Stephen O'Neill and Officers Nathan Bowler and Philip Valiant here to give testimony to the reports that they have written in regards to incidents that have taken place at the Super Bowl restaurant.
Okay. Why don't you gentlemen sit for a second, let the police officers come up, tell us in their own words, and then we'll go from there.
Let's do the March 6th, which would be Officers Bowler and Valiant.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Nathan Bowler. I'm a patrolman with the Lowell Police Department.
In your own words, tell us what happened.
Thank you, Commissioner. On the evening in question, which would be March 6th, at approximately 12:30 in the morning, I was assigned to a private pay detail at the Super Bowl, which is 1733 Middlesex Street in the city of Lowell. The Super Bowl is a bar and nightclub. That evening, I was assigned with my partner, Officer Philip Valiant, which is to my left. That evening, we arrived on duty at approximately 12:30. During the course of the subsequent approximately hour and a half until closing time, I observed a large number of persons known to me to be gang members. Those persons were displaying clothing consistent with their gang membership. Throughout the night, those alleged gang members began to display hand signs consistent with their gang membership. They began to try and incite incidents with the other gang members as they were intermingling. There was a large number of, rival gang members within the establishment. So they were displaying hand signs, yelling at each other, making gang-related statements, all in an attempt to incite fights with the other rival gang members. Several times, respectively, I advised both the security staff as well as the owner of the establishment who was on scene at the time. I advised them both of my observations and my belief that there was going to be a violent incident either inside the bar or afterwards outside. Several members of rival gangs were ejected at one point by myself and by Officer Valiant after they persisted in displaying gang signs and attempting to start a fight with one another. Both of those two persons I observed to be what I believe extremely intoxicated. They were ejected from the bar. They left the premises with friends of theirs. At the conclusion of the evening, at approximately 1:30, we moved the patrons outside with the assistance of the security staff. Outside, on the way out, I requested extra help from the on-duty officers that evening, which would be the late-night officers. Based on my belief and everything I'd seen inside that there was going to be a violent incident, as well as the fact that there had been a number of previous violent incidents with similar circumstances. Working on that belief, I asked for additional officers before an incident began. While those officers were on the way, a violent fight did break out in the parking lot. There was a large group scuffling in the center. There were approximately 5 persons fighting. I observed both members of the Asian Boys, which is the Crip gang set, and members of the Blood gang set were fighting in that group of 5 persons. I approached that group with Officer Valiant. I managed to apprehend one of the persons who was known to be an Asian boy gang member. Subsequently placed him into custody after he refused to stop fighting. The Blood gang member he was fighting with took flight. Officer Valiant managed to apprehend him down the street, place him into custody after a violent time where the gentleman resisted Officer Valiant. A third known gang member was later placed into custody after he refused to leave the premises and continued to try and fight with other patrons. It should be noted, Commissioners, that the 3 people that were arrested, I observed each of them to be in the bar prior to this time consuming alcohol. Specifically, the person I arrested and the person that my partner, Officer Valiant, arrested in the initial scuffle. I had spoken to both of them in regards to displaying hand signs, and both of them were wearing clothing consistent with their gang membership.
What, you guys didn't start your detail till 12:30?
That's correct, Commissioner. The detail office and the main desk of the Lowell Police Department were unable to fill up the detail prior to that. And so to avoid a violent incident from occurring without police details on scene, the decision was made to his credit by the manager, or owner rather, that 2 people should respond at the end of our shift, which would be the evening shift.
Yep.
So we responded at 12:30 at the conclusion of our shift.
Okay.
Okay, You talked to the staff and you talked to the owner, and what did they say?
There was no,
Now, were you on duty? Is this your regular time on duty, or this was a detail?
it was a detail, Commissioner. Both myself and Officer Valiant concluded our regular on-duty shift at 12:30 and immediately assumed assignment to the detail.
Okay.
We had, like I stated, I had conversations with most of the members of security staff as well as the owner on several occasions, both. I don't recall specifically what was said in reply to that. There was no plan at that time made. Well, the only plan made at that time, specific plan of action, was that anyone else from that time on that displayed hand signs or attempted verbally to incite a member of a rival gang would be ejected by myself or Officer Valiant or a member of the security staff.
Have you worked that detail before?
That's correct.
And how many times? More than 10?
Probably right around 10, I'd say, or slightly less.
And was this night out of the norm from the other nights you've worked there?
It was in the extreme degree that I observed both the gang members and their behaviors. That is to say, Commissioner, I often see gang members inside, and often I see rival gang members. The reason that I spoke to security staff and the owner was that it was to such an extreme degree for what I'm used to. Obviously, the behaviors I saw, I had seen many times before, but there was quite a number of more gang members than usual, to the best of my recollection, and they appeared to be more violently inclined than usual.
So on the nights that you've been paid detail, you've observed gang members in the establishment?
That's correct.
And on all of these occasions, have you informed the owner and/or manager of this?
No.
You haven't informed?
No.
If you were standing at the door, okay, you say they had on their clothes or their colors or whatever. Okay, if you were standing at the door, could you pick and choose who belonged to what just by looking at them?
No, Commissioner. You could certainly make an educated guess. The gang members that I testified specifically to, knowing that they were known gang members, were ones that I recognized from past interactions with them that have identified themselves to me as such. If they came in wearing specific clothing, then certainly you would suspect.
But you've observed gang members there and you haven't informed the owner of this? You just didn't think that was... I'm asking, I'm not saying it's a bad thing or a good thing.
In the course of my duties in the evening and when I work private details at bars, you see gang members.
Yeah, that's fine.
They're not always an issue.
Yeah, that's fine.
And that's something that you don't, I mean, I don't want to, push the point either, but you don't feel that that would be important to tell the owner?
Well, in a crowd of 200 or 300, there's always going to be gang members that I recognize to be gang members.
Yeah,
but they may or may not cause an issue that evening, and certainly the behaviors are affected by their level of intoxication, how many other gang members are with them, the presence of rival gang members.
Oh, I'm absolutely sure.
I guess the other, well, it's not so much for the officer, it would be for the establishment, but the list that they gave us had the people that they had ID'd, and a lot of them are coming from Lynn into this establishment, so there must be a reason, and that's, I don't know, just...
Probably nobody wants to go out after dark in Lynn.
If you could come, Peter, is it Peter? Could you come up? Thank you, officer.
Oh, you want to hear the other guy?
I don't know, he's got this story, right? Have we suspended your license before?
No, you have not suspended my license, but we were put on probation last year from, I believe, April until October.
April until October. Do we roll back your hours at all?
No, you did not.
Okay, and how many times have you been in here?
I've been here several times, probably 3 by my count.
Okay, 3 in like the last year, right?
In like the last year, but...
last 2 years, right?
We've only been open for a year and a half.
Okay, yeah.
So, and if I can just finish, what have you done over the last year to improve the security at Super Bowl Restaurant?
As you can see, we purchased an ID scanning machine that logs when people come in so we can recreate the scene if necessary.
Yep.
We make sure that people with proper ID, proper like physical condition, like no one's walking in drunk or no one's walking in out of their mind or anything.
But who does this? Is it the police, or is it
we-
a private bouncer, or who is
We
it?
have security detail, both private and with police officers. We do hire 2 police officers per night on Friday and Saturday now.
Now, if I recall, last time you were in here, one of your private security guys had actually assisted the police in
Yes.
taking a gun off somebody.
Yes. We were there that time because it was said that we didn't call the police when this did happen, but we did because our bouncer called them.
I'm interested in knowing, why do you think so many people from Lynn are coming in? I mean, it seemed like there were, you know, a large, as Commissioner Cajun said, a large number of them from Lynn, and they're the ones causing you problems.
We hired a different promoter for that day because sometimes we have slow nights, so we have to try different crowds. And the promoter said, hey, I can bring people from Lynn, that's my hometown, there's a lot of Cambodian people there as well. And we tried them out, they did bring a lot of people. We did not know at the time that...
I'm sorry, I didn't get the first part. How do you get them from Lynn?
Promoters.
Oh, a promoter?
Yes.
Just to promote the place?
Yes, they promote it to their family and friends, and their family and friends come, and we pay them based on how many people come.
I think he's promoting it to the wrong people.
We did not know that at the time, but yes, we believe so.
You know?
I mean, I guess what frustrates me is that they had some issues, and then they seemed to clear them up. The last time they were in here, I think we just put the complaint on file, because we thought you guys did the right thing. But now, I mean, these 2 officers are finishing their shift, and they could go home to their families, but instead they're coming to work private detail for you. They get paid for it, but they're doing it extra, and then they have to get involved in a fight between gang members. I mean, it just doesn't seem right. And you know, you've been open for a year and a half, and I know you said in your letter you don't know all the gang members in the city of Lowell, but I mean, you're a business owner, you got people coming from Lynn, you got people coming from Lowell, you should have a good grasp now of who's in your establishment and who isn't. So, I mean, that's what concerns me, is that I thought you were getting it, but I'm not quite sure right now whether you're grasping the seriousness of the situation.
It's a very serious matter, and we understand that, and we do take actions to make sure that it runs smoothly. When the police officers requested that 2 be hired per night, we didn't think of the overhead costs. We're like, okay, if they want 2, we'll hire 2. Whatever requests that have been made, we have done it.
Yeah, but you can't expect them.
I understand.
You have to solve your business problem, okay? You know, that's the biggest fallacy that ever came down the pike. I've been here longer than I want to admit, but, you know, you always hear this. I hired the policeman. Well, you know what? The policeman doesn't know your business.
I understand. I know that.
He's there to help you. If there's a problem, you can go up to him. I will be honest with you. I would encourage the policeman to tell me if he knew somebody was coming in. But you know what? It's like any other place. You know when Charlie walks in the door, there's going to be a problem. Because after he has a couple of drinks, you know, his personality changes. It's that simple. And a good businessman knows those things and takes steps to protect himself. He says, hey, Charlie, you're not welcome here.
I understand, and we do that.
The police department know you. I know you. You're not welcome here, period. End of statement. I don't know that much about like gang colors and all that stuff, but I'm sure there are people that work for you that probably do if they're in the security part of it. And they should be on alert to be watching for those things. And, you know, it's like saying, you know, let's get a bunch of Yankee fans and then dump a whole mess of Red Sox people in the same place. You know, it's not going to go. It's just not going to go. And so you have to pick and choose, if you will.
Yes,
You know?
I understand. I have to pick and choose the customers.
And you got to stop the ones that are coming in there. It's just that simple. And you're going to be back here again, and you know, I can...
Did you observe anyone being overserved?
No.
Did the police officers observe anyone being overserved?
two people that were ejected, I believed had been overserved. I did not observe them being served in the establishment, but they were within and they were heavily intoxicated, I believe.
But you were trained at the police academy, correct?
That's correct.
And you've learned how to determine whether someone's intoxicated or
I did.
not?
That's correct.
And in your training and experience, you believe these people were intoxicated?
Those two specifically, yes.
And did those two fight?
No, Commissioner. They were ejected separately after trying to incite a fight inside.
Right.
They left with their
And
friends.
they left?
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I believe the issue in question is also the correlation between the fighting and the alcohol. We don't know if they're fighting because they're gang members or because they had too much to drink.
But the complaint was that there was overservice, and he testified that there was overservice, whether it was the combatants or
understand.
not.
You know, you've got that outside patio there that,
Yep.
you know, the weather's getting good. You know, I can just imagine the neighbors are gonna be out of the woodwork. You know, you're gonna get them outside there on that patio, and we're gonna end up with some real severe problems. You know, it's just like being out, because now they can smoke and drink. And it just,
Let me just ask, Officer Bowler, the two people that you said that you observed that were intoxicated who were ejected?
Yes, sir.
All right, were they taken into protective custody?
No, they left with friends of theirs.
Okay.
anything else to say for yourself?
Not at this point in time, no.
You know, I think it seems like the problem may be happening after hours. Not after hours, but during the later evening. So I guess my inclination would be to roll back the hours for 14 days to 11 p.m. Hold that in abeyance for 6 months. And see what, to be on probation for 6 months. That would be my inclination, but I don't know how you guys feel.
My concern on this one is we gotta make findings on two things. One, whether or not there was an illegality permitted on the premises, and that the law on the licensed premises means it stops within the 4 walls of the structure, or I guess 5 walls if you build odd buildings like architects do. But anyway, it stops within the boundaries of the actual premises, and all the testimony we had is that the disturbances were, and the fight was outside, which is the exact same problem we had the last time, is that the parking lot seems to be turning into like the place where everybody goes and fights at closing time. So with respect to permitting an illegality, I mean, I would have to find that we haven't had that testimony. With respect to the overservice, we're within the gray area of the law. Because there was no determination as to intoxication, blood alcohol level, didn't rise to the level of requiring protective custody, we've got trouble. Now, I also know we have another hearing coming up where
Yeah,
we've got different facts.
I think beyond a shadow, I agree with Commissioner Cajun, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the end results occurred from what went on inside. And I think you have to agree that, whether it's when they let them all out, you just can't dump them all out on the street and say, good God, I got them out the door, thank God, I don't have to worry about it anymore. That's where the policeman gets killed, in the parking lot, when all these idiots get together because they're sauced up on the booze and they're not thinking straight, and somebody decides to be a wise guy, and all of a sudden 20 or 30 other guys decide, well, you know what, if I can hit this guy, maybe I can kick him, maybe I can shoot him. And it just, that's how these things escalate. It doesn't happen immediately. It's a result, of spending that evening. And I think I do think, I do think that if you'd allow me, I would say, let's go 14 days at 12 o'clock. Okay? And the reason why I say 12 is because I think 11 o'clock is a severe punishment in the fact that I don't think most people get up and go out until around 10 now. I know my daughter used to come home from college and she drove you crazy. You know, 11 o'clock she was going out. We were going to bed. But I mean, the point is that I don't want to close them and cause them severe financial problems, but I think we need to give them a couple of weeks to really think about it. So if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I didn't make a motion, so
Okay,
whatever you...
if you wouldn't mind, I would go with your motion with the exception of making it 14 days at roll of hours back to 12 o'clock. Yes.
Commissioners, if I may, Officer Bowler alluded in his report, as you made the analogy of Red Sox and Yankees fans, that people are coming into this establishment wearing what is recognized, certainly by police officers, as known gang colors. I would request that the owners and operators of the establishment, they obviously can see if someone's wearing, for instance, all red, and someone comes in at a later time wearing all blue, it could be a recipe for disaster, adding alcohol consumption. And I would like to ask that perhaps the establishments take steps to not allow people that are obviously wearing those colors into the establishment in the first place.
Well, Lieutenant, I agree with you, because I would tell you that I was here more than a year ago. I asked the law department about the issue of banning anyone with all of these problems from any licensed establishment inside the city, period. Meaning that, you don't show up at our hearings, you're banned. You don't show up, you're getting arrested at these spots, you're banned. We haven't gotten permission to do that yet. But I mean, I think it's a wonderful idea. I think we should be taking the driver's license off everybody, putting together a book of faces that are banned. And when the licenses get scanned, they come up as not allowed in. And I don't mean just in the Super Bowl. I mean in any place that has a license issued by this board. And we're working with the law department to try and get that permission to do it. But I agree with you. I mean, but
The reason I bring it up is to maybe ask for the cooperation of the establishment.
Well, that's what I was just trying to explain to him about. He owns the business. He's been in business long enough. He should be able to recognize these things. He should be able to recognize, I mean, I'm sure that people with colors and all this other stuff, that's very physically very self-evident. Somebody walks in red, somebody walks in blue, unless you're colorblind, and then you got another excuse. But the point being that they don't have to be in that. They can be just a guy that got off for work on a Friday. If they took a tips course, it would teach them about stuff like that, where these guys that just get off from work on Friday and they owe it to themselves to get drunk because they worked all week. I mean, what do you expect? And you only need one or two of those. Your business is gone. Your business is gone because those are the guys that are going to kill your business, So, I mean, I didn't specifically say that, but I would hope you understood that's what we meant. That you'd be smart enough to have somebody at the door and say, hey, look, you're not welcome here. You can refuse to serve anybody. You don't have to worry. There's one thing in the world you still got the right to do. You can refuse to serve anybody, and you don't have to give them a reason.
I understand, but on the night in question, we didn't expect that many people from Lynn to be of trouble.
I understand that, but you know that now. So if you know that now, you should have somebody at the door that knows all these different colors and signals and signs and whatnot.
I got to tell you, I disagree. I'm concerned now that we're setting a legal standard that says every bar is responsible for anybody who walks in their establishment and creates trouble. And, you're supposed to know if somebody from out of town is involved in an organization.
Once they've been we're talking about somebody who they know causes trouble, Ray. Not just because the guy's from out of town. We're talking about somebody who comes to your bar on a once a week basis or something, and the minute he walks in, you say, oh, we're gonna have problems now. That's the ones I'm not saying, whether they're from Lynn or wherever they're
Right, but
from.
I don't think we're getting any, or we don't think we've had anything introduced here. I don't think anything in the police reports has suggested that the people who were arrested there have had problems there before. So I don't want to put a burden of being psychic on everybody who runs a restaurant in Lowell.
Well, I mean, I think, I agree with Commissioner Weicker as technically, the licensed premises is just the building and the deck, and the fight took place in the parking lot. So
We're stuck with it.
I would make a motion that, in terms of that aspect of the complaint, we just put it on file.
And I'll second that portion of that.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say yes?
Yes.
No.
Right.
Now moving on to the
In
second
terms of the
portion.
second portion of the overservice, I mean, we had testimony from the officer that there was overservice. I would make a motion that we roll back the hours for 14 days to 12 a.m., and that we hold it in abeyance for 6 months.
I'll second your motion.
Motion made and seconded.
Yes.
Everybody say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
No.
No.
So relative to that complaint, your hours have been rolled back to midnight for 14 days, but you're on probation for the next 6 months. So as long as nothing happens in the next 6 months, you won't have to roll back your hours.
When does that begin?
Well, it doesn't begin unless you have another violation,
Oh, okay.
okay?
I understand.
But we got another complaint coming up.
move on to the other
so
complaint.
I understand.
It could happen.
Okay. Next, next on the agenda.
Commission will now open a hearing on the allegation of misconduct as charged by Kenneth E. LaValle, the Superintendent of Police, against Hume Loan, Inc., all alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee, doing business as Super Bowl Restaurant and Pub, 1733 Middlesex Street. Hong Min Pham is the manager of record, alleged to have served an intoxicated patron on March 12, 2011. If that be the case, a violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 69.
Introduce yourself for the record.
My name is Hong Pham. People call me Peter. I'm the manager of the Super Bowl restaurant.
Okay? No?
Why don't we just call the officer up?
Who was the policeman in that one?
It's, Sergeant O'Neill.
I didn't get one.
I got one.
That's the other one.
No, I got one. You gave it to me.
I got one. Okay.
Okay.
So why don't we call up Sergeant O'Neill?
Yeah. Introduce yourself for the record, please.
Sergeant Steve O'Neill.
Okay? And in your own words, just tell us what happened.
I was working a detail in March with Officer Mike Miles. We got there approximately 10 o'clock, approximately 11 o'clock. Earlier when I got there, I observed the two gentlemen drinking at the bar, drinking shots and drinking Heineken beers. It actually caught my attention because of the glass bottles, and I was a little surprised that they were serving with glass bottles. Usually they put them in plastic cups in establishments. Keeping an eye on them. Approximately, probably a little after 11 o'clock, Officer Miles went up. One of the gentlemen, Sammy Gathir, I believe, to the bar. He had his hand down, standing with his head on the bar, as if he was sleeping. Officer Miles spoke with the gentleman he was with, who was drinking also. When he came back, he said, his buddy's going to get him out of here and we'll take care of it. Well, approximately 3 minutes later, his buddy was still drinking. His friend was still sleeping on the bar. I went over to wake him up, and as I did, his buddy grabbed my arm to tell me to leave him alone. At that point, his buddy went to jail. We arrested him after a brief struggle, and then when I went to get Sammy, he was oblivious to what was going on. He was highly intoxicated, didn't know we had arrested anybody, and at that point, I made a decision to PC him.
I may not understand this, but according to the complaint, it says there was an illegality, disorder, or disturbance on the, what's the alleged illegality or disturbance?
Serving an intoxicated patron?
No.
I believe it might be the assault on the officer.
Yeah, assault on the police
Okay,
officer.
oh, all right.
Right, he was placed, the other gentleman was placed under arrest for assault and battery on a police officer and disorderly conduct.
Okay.
I just don't see that in the.
That's a separate that was a
It
separate
was a
arrest
separate
report.
but on
I
the,
didn't,
okay, on the complaint, it doesn't say it, that's all.
I'm sorry.
No, that's
All right.
okay, that's all right.
Now I'll ask the one question. All right. Because okay. You observed a person who had been drinking, they passed out drunk at a bar?
That's
And
correct.
you observed them drinking there, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, and his condition was such that you PC'd him?
Yes,
Protective custody for the television viewing audience? Okay,
that's correct.
right. And then the second part of the complaint we got from the chief says that they permitted the illegality, the assault and battery. Was that permitted by the establishment owners?
I can't answer that.
Okay.
When I went to wake up the gentleman, I know that they had served him. I watched them from when I got in there. They were standing in the same location. I was approximately the short end of the bar, which is about 6 feet, and they were over probably 2 stools. And I observed them. I was right there in the corner above where the people come in and show their IDs to get in.
Okay.
So did they permit it? No, but they gave them the alcohol, I guess.
But they did permit the over-service, correct?
No doubt about it.
Okay. So then, I just wanted to make sure we had something to cover the permission of an illegality. Not that the assault and battery was permitted, but they permitted the service of alcohol to a person who was intoxicated.
They did serve them. I witnessed it. Witnessed the shots and the Heinekens.
I have no other questions.
Okay. The people in the bar, what'd they say? Did anybody say anything, or did they?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. And they were only, 5 feet from you?
I would say, like I say, about 6 feet, 2 feet over, at max 8 feet diagonally. I'm standing here at the corner of the bar towards the back, and they were right there. I mean, I witnessed them doing shots and drinking the Heinekens, like I said.
And when you took this fellow out, nobody in the bar said anything, or,
The owner actually, when I went to get the person who was sleeping on the bar to remove him, his buddy, who he was drinking with, I witnessed him drinking shots and Heinekens, grabbed my hand to get me away from him. At that point, he went to jail, and then I went back to get the PC.
Yeah.
The owner came to me and was concerned why I was locking up the other gentleman, and I should have been taking care of the guy that was passed out at the bar. I assume that's what he meant.
Okay. Anything?
No, I don't have anything.
No.
I mean, it appears that there was over-service,
Yeah.
so.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ray, can I see what their response was?
Okay, tell us your side of the story.
My side of the story is as written in the letter that I gave you.
Yeah.
We don't believe that we overserved him because when he came in, he was not intoxicated. Several minutes after we gave him his drink, he was still not intoxicated, so that's why we served him. It wasn't until later, when he was sleeping on the bar, that we confronted him. I got one of my bouncers, Jeff. I brought him up and I said, can you help me confront this guy right here? And when we talked to the person, I talked to his friend. I was like, hey, is your friend okay? And he says, hey, my friend's okay. I'll be driving him home soon. And these people came in a group of 4. And when they were buying shots, I agree with that. They were buying shots and they were drinking Heineken. Only 2 shots were purchased in which the female patrons drank it, and 4 beers total were purchased. And I can understand how the officer would think that this person was overserved and they drank all 4 of them or something. But at the end, it was documented that the beers were still there.
But he said that he saw them drinking.
He may have seen the group drinking it, but I'm not sure if he sees them individually drinking it.
And-
As you can see in the report that I have written,
Yeah.
there's only about 30 people in the bar. There's like 4 bartenders.
Yeah, but the guy had obviously, something was wrong because you went and got one of
Yes,
your
we
bouncers
noticed
and went
that
over to
something was
wake the
wrong.
guy up.
We noticed something was
Why do you
wrong,
th-
but it wasn't because an error in our judgment where we served him while something was wrong with him. We served him without knowing the fact that something may have been wrong with him. And we don't know if he was taking medication, if he was like on NyQuil or something, or if he's just tired. So we believe that we served him with the best of our ability and not willingly serving intoxicated persons.
Sergeant O'Neill, did you want to add something?
Just for the record, I witnessed them do the shots. He drank shots. I witnessed a couple of shots, and it was approximately, they were there when I got there at 10 o'clock, and it was a little after 11 that he was passed out, for the record.
I think we got to get your attention. Okay, I'm going to make a motion to enforce the 14 days.
I know
Yes.
we had that issue come up, and Attorney Leahy from the city solicitor's office told us that we got in trouble for that. We need to make a separate finding on just this incident and give a separate penalty for just this incident.
Well, he's
Or
on-
else, the ABCC smacked us last time for doing exactly what you're suggesting doing right now.
But
We can't remove a suspension a suspended sentence that we just
Attorney
put in
Slade,
place.
can I ask you a question?
Well-
If we find them in violation,
Right.
and give them a separate sentence, that'll invoke the prior
Right.
decision.
No.
I
They'll
don't
continue-
believe so, because although technically it is a prior decision,
Yeah.
there hasn't been any,
Appeal period.
there hasn't been any appeal period, there hasn't
Right.
been any time for them to, I mean, the whole point of putting someone on probation is so that it gives them a
And they-
incentive to change their behavior. 5 minutes later, you can't say, and now you violated, and we're going to take you off probation. But if,
Right.
that being said, you may impose a separate penalty for this action,
Right.
and the probationary period will remain intact for the
Right.
next sentence.
We can give him 14, we can give him a suspension or whatever for now, for this one, and he'll still have another 14 days hanging over his head
Hanging
for
over
6
his
months.
head.
Correct.
Okay. But we're not
Okay.
we're not releasing that suspension
Right,
period.
right. The probationary period will still be in effect for 6 months from today. This violation, if found, will not invoke the penalty of the
Well, I'll make a motion that we find a violation.
Okay.
Second, yeah.
Second. All in favor, say yes.
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 And with respect to penalty, what's your pleasure?
In respect to the penalty, I would say 14 days, closure at 12 o'clock.
I'll second the motion.
No, second,
I
okay.
think we just have to.
I think we got to get his attention.
Yeah. Okay, motion
Okay,
made
so
and
if he
seconded.
can, and he knows, I mean, I don't care, I can't imagine these guys, they sell themselves out for a couple of lousy bucks. They let somebody bums in the bar room. I mean, I swear, if I owned a bar room and I had problems like this, I'd take the guy out in the back and there wouldn't be any
So,
appeal
all
period,
in
let me
favor?
tell you.
I would
Yes.
Yes.
God.
Yes.
I would
Okay.
like to
Wait a
make a
minute.
comment on this.
So you've got, how long has he got to write, to appeal our decision?
Matter of the written notice, within 5 days upon receipt of the written notice of the decision well, let me take that back. If I understand the motion correctly, Commissioner Bayless has moved to close the establishment, rolling back the hours for 14 days.
To midnight.
And till midnight. And it was seconded by Commissioner Occasion, correct? With vote unanimous?
Yes.
Correct? All right. So there's no appeal by the licensee on the rollback of hours.
Okay.
Because it was duly noted in the notice of hearing, the possibility that the licensing board, as a public need to decrease the hours in accordance with Section 12 and 138, the hours of rollback could take effect forthwith.
Okay, then we'll start tomorrow, okay? Or what, do you want to start tonight?
Yeah, forthwith is tonight, right?
Forthwith means,
Tonight.
okay, tonight. So could you notify the department that they could go by there and they should be closed at 12 o'clock, and everybody out of the building and gone.
Yes, sir, I will.
I don't have any ability to appeal this at all.
What?
I don't
No,
have any
not on not on a rollback, you don't.
If we suspend a license,
You've
if we
got a right to
revoke a license, it can be appealed to the ABCC. If we do anything in violation of any of the notice requirements, that can be appealed. But the reason that we're smart enough to give you 14 days notice for any of these things is that if we want to roll back hours, that's completely within our discretion.
I understand, but I've looked up recent decisions based on this, and the most people have gotten is like 3 to 7 days of suspension, not 14 days of rollback. I would
That was
rather
our
take
decision.
I would rather take a 3-day suspension. It's Cambodian New Year month. We need to make our monthly rent.
Shouldn't have overserved the individual twice.
I feel like this judgment has been based off of the previous case that was brought up.
That's why I
This
was
is the
that's why I was
first
very
time.
That's why they
careful.
corrected
I was very careful to make those distinct. I mean, you'd still have other avenues available to you if you wanted to, you know.
I mean, I also have contracts with people for private parties, and now I have to incur those costs. Is it possible that we can like serve out that sentence of a 2-week suspension in like mid-May or something? I mean,
No, I think that you have enough history with us that this
I
needs
know,
to
but
start
like,
tonight.
it's never been because of over-serving, though. I mean, we've been here 3 times, but one of those times was not counted because we did help the Lowell police. We did cooperate.
But there are establishments throughout the city that have never been here. So you've been here now 4, 5 times. No. 3 prior and 2 today. That's 5. So that's, you know, you guys have a history and you need to shape up, and this is the way that we're gonna get your attention. So, yeah, you're incurring costs. That's the price of doing business.
You can still stay open until midnight. You know.
It's just going to make it very difficult for us to meet the monthly rent.
I don't know. That's it. That's the decision.
On the item on the agenda, I believe I handed out a copy of a communication from Chandra Parry, who resides at the Mahler's Building at 33 Middle Street. And she had sent to me by way of email on April 1st, noticed that she had been dealing with the manager of record of the Bryans Ivy Hall for approximately several months, since late November, in which she had been experiencing noise disturbances emanating from the licensed establishment Bryans Ivy Hall, which is situated on the 3rd floor at, I believe it's 74 Merrimack Street, number 74. It's Merrimack Street, it's just a question, number of 74 Merrimack Street, as opposed to 76. And as the board may recall, late last year, the first email that at the time when the email came in, it was Chandra Simone. Subsequent, she is now has married, and her married name is Perry. So she was following up on the issue of excessive noise, and she sent the email April 1st, of which I believe I forwarded to the members of the commission.
Yeah.
That email. She would have been here today. She had spoken of being present. I don't believe she's here. You are here. Okay. So before I say anything more on the fact that Ms. Perry is here now, I just wanted the board to be aware that the email has been sitting on my desk for several weeks, and this being the first opportunity the commission's had at a public meeting to address the issue, if they wish to address it, to go how they may wish to proceed. Presumably, the commission, I know, had some concerns late last year, and now whether they wish to pursue that further at this time.
Okay. I'd just like to get a couple of, I'd like to, you know, traditionally, when we call somebody in for something like this, okay, we call them in the first time and kind of give them a talking to, and hopefully resolve it that way. And I was wondering where, probably in the past, that's all we've ever done the very first time we get a complaint of this nature. Do we have to give them the 14 days notice and all that? Or can we adopt a policy when somebody writes a letter to us like this, that if Ryan wanted to get a hold of us, we could just simply vote to send him a letter to tell him to come in? Because again, as I say, the thing there is that this young lady's put up with this, you know, for some period of time. And regardless of what we say today, we can have Ryan write a letter. But from everything reading in the letter that this young lady wrote to the board, it sounded to me like she's very, very reasonable and she's tried to work things out. So I don't think the impact of a letter is going to be very much. But if we could get them in here just to sit and say, look, you know, we know about it and we're telling, because the next time do you follow me? Does that 14-day period have to apply for the first time you call them in?
I think that...
Yeah, I know that, but I'm saying we wouldn't do that. We would just talk.
If you want to have the ability to roll back hours...
That's if you want to.
You need 14 days
Right.
notice, otherwise I don't think we do.
The commission has the right, in theory, to send anyone a letter requesting their voluntary presence where there's no, where there is no chance for discipline.
Okay.
In other words, you can request that somebody come here.
Yeah.
If you're not, if you don't have the right to impose discipline, therefore, if they don't come, they aren't violating any commission rule. You basically are just saying, we'd really like to talk to you, and if they decide not to come, that's their prerogative. They don't. You're not exercising your authority as the license commission, calling them in for a disciplinary matter. Absent the, I mean, there may be some open meeting law issues that I wouldn't want to just comment on off the cuff. But if you wanted to have if you wanted to vote in an open session on a policy where if the secretary gets a complaint, that he sends out a procedural letter merely requesting their presence to have a conversation with the license commission, you don't need to meet the 14-day time limit, because it's not going to be a public hearing with a chance for discipline. That's when you have to have the 14 days, when there's going to be a public hearing with a chance for discipline.
Well,
On the understanding that if they decide not to come in, or if they come in and are rude and belligerent, you can't do anything.
No.
You're not.
But, you know, if they come in
can't
and they're
punish
rude
them.
and belligerent, they're going to come in rude and belligerent if you give them the 14 days. So
On the
I
other
want to
hand-
eliminate the 14 days, because the only people that are suffering are these people.
My understanding is if you
Again,
want to take an option to actually revoke or suspend a license, you don't need 14 days notice. But if you're going to take out options to roll back hours, you need 14 days. Am I correct on that?
I'm not sure about the first part. I am sure about the second part. The issue is that if you want to have the option when they come in to take some sort of action against the licensee holder, you need to do the 14 days, because that gives you the option to at least roll back the hours, as opposed to calling them in, making a determination at that time whether or not there needs to be some further action, and then you have to wait an additional 14
Right.
days after that.
But at least right now we're talking about a situation that has dragged on now for about a month. Not that anybody's at fault because of that, but that's the way the letter came in, and we haven't had a meeting since, and it's only every 2 weeks, and Ryan gets dumped with the letter. And, I mean, he did send us all a copy, and we had it at home. We could all read it and everything. And I just thought to myself, it's a shame that he couldn't have sent out a letter to the people asking them to come in, so that they could come in and we could have a conversation and maybe make them understand the severity of their situation. Whether they took it to heart or they didn't, it's like the guy speeding down the highway. The policeman pulls him over and gives him a warning. He's not smart enough to understand that the policeman might have just saved his life.
No, I understand what the board's attempting to do, and I appreciate that because of the distance between the times for the meetings, that's as I said, if you want to vote to give the secretary the authority to send in a request to appear for a non-disciplinary conversation with the board,
I'm kind of also of the opinion that, this has been on the agenda under the open meeting law and published and available to the entire world for 48 hours, right?
Assuming we've followed
Assuming that we've
the open
complied,
meeting law,
assuming that we've complied with the open meeting law.
This agenda was posted with the city clerk Tuesday.
Okay,
in
so
a
this
timely
issue,
manner.
this issue has been a public record.
Actually, Monday, I should take that back.
Okay,
Monday.
this issue has been a public record now for more than 48 hours. So,
Okay.
It's not like it's been a secret.
We're trying to work this out, because in these types of situations, I sympathize with you, I understand what you're saying. I remember when these fellas came in and they were talking about opening that. I believe it was Commissioner Occasion that, told them that, that the place had had problems before and whatnot. And the only thing that I can see that we can do for you at this point, I've read your letter, I'm sure, if you read, I'm sure they've read the letter. And I believe me, I don't say it lightly, I sympathize with you, but at this point, I think what we gotta do is vote to get them in here.
But Ms. Parry, from my understanding of reading your email, it seems like this has been a constant problem since the place opened. And then you contacted Mr. Hayhurst.
And he
resolved it a little bit.
The only time I've contacted him is during the work week. That's my as you can see, my communication.
Right, put that in the letter.
I understand that it's, a club and Brian's tried to be responsive, but it's kind of like when you tell your child to turn down their music and it kind of inches up and inches up and inches up and you're back at the bedroom door saying, look. And the problem is that it starts off, the music starts and then by midnight it's pounding. And therein lies the problem, and I don't know if they're aware of it because they're probably standing in the middle of the noise and, when you're listening to it for 3 hours and who can tell when it's gone up or not?
And look, I agree with you. I've read the letter of, and the previous complaints, and I agree with you. You should be able to get a good night's sleep on a Wednesday. I don't think that's
Thursdays,
unreasonable on
typically.
Wednesday or Thursday to want to actually be able to sleep and go to work in the morning.
And this has been my contention with Mr. Hayhurst from the beginning.
Okay, the earliest we can have him in for a disciplinary hearing would be,
Well, it wouldn't be on the next, May 12th. May 12th.
May 12th would be the earliest.
Do you consider that as part of
Okay.
an option for the board?
Okay. And I apologize for that, because if we mail the letter today, it's not gonna, it won't make
I'll
the
just
14th.
continue doing what I'm doing and calling the police and trying to get Kevin to be responsive and,
Did he really offer you earplugs?
yes. He offered me noise-concealing earphones, and I found it insulting and absurd.
And how many other units are there in the building?
It's off
that
to
you
Patty.
There are, I believe there are 24.
And are there any other residents that are complaining about this?
The woman who lives next door to me, I know that she's called. I'm not certain about the others because I'm not one to go knocking on everybody's
Right.
door trying to poke the beehive.
Yeah, right.
I
Do you
have
have do you have an association?
Pardon me?
It's a condo?
We do.
Do you have a condo association?
We do.
When you meet?
We met in January. I think it's annually.
It's only once a year?
I think so,
Wow.
yeah.
You know, I just think that,
I just bought there, so I'm not, I'm
yeah.
versed in everything.
But I think what you need to do is you need to talk to the, you know, the other people in the condo, take this time to talk to them. You know,
And if they have an issue, make sure
if
they
it's
hear them as
affecting
well.
my, you know, if it's affecting my quality of life, I'm gonna be there. People say, oh, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, what an inconvenient time. Why don't we have it at 6 in the, you know what? If it was affecting my wife or my kids' quality of life or my quality of life, you can bet your bippy I'd be there no matter what time it was, and they'd hear from me. And you know, my life isn't that important that I can't show up for a few minutes. So you need to say to them, look, you know, these people, not so much for us, because, you know, we're really the authority on it. You know, we don't live down there. Hello? You know, I live up, you know, I don't live in the building, so I don't know. You're going to live with it, and everybody else. So that's where you got to come from, is the people that it's affecting. And, you know, I mean, Ryan will write him a letter. You know, I don't know if it's going to do any good, but it would be interesting to find out if it did.
And then we'll have a hearing on the.
But I want you to understand why we're kind of, you know, we can't do it like tomorrow morning. I'd like to, believe me. I'd love to. These people have too many rights today. They can drive you nuts, and then 2 weeks after you jump out the window, they say, oh, you know what? He was right.
My only add-on to that is I actually copied and sent the sound ordinance to Mr. Hayhurst. And I've printed out all of the emails that I've had with him back and forth, and he just kind of blew it off. And I went to the downtown meeting with the that Superintendent LaValle puts on with the downtown businesses and the residents.
Yeah.
And, you know, well, you know, we're trying. Well, it doesn't take much to turn a button, you know, and he's like, well, we want to come into your house to hear it. The issue is not with my condo. The issue is in their business.
Yeah.
And I tried to get that through to him, and he just, you know, I'm
We
just
warned-
being
we
the...
did warn him of this.
Oh, yeah,
that
I
there would-
remember,
that there would be
the minute I
consequences.
saw that, I said, oh, boy.
And one of the issues is because we're not considered abutters, we were never notified in the building.
Well, see, the biggest problem there is, ma'am, that it's just like people that come in for sound permits. They want to have a St. Patty's Day party, or father from, his Portuguese festival. They have more festivals than God, but this are outside. Okay, but he's in a Portuguese neighborhood, and the homes are very close together. And they don't keep people up all night long. They're considerate of it. They're very, you know, Holy Ghost Park that we do have in the past gotten, but they've been exceptionally conscientious about. They take a little sound meter and they walk to the end of the parking lot just to see, because you're right. What happens is the noise progression as the night goes on, a few more beers make it a little louder. Yeah, throw some bass in there, you know. All of a sudden the thing boom, 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 you know, and you go home and you got a migraine headache. So it's everybody that bought condos in there, it's their quality of life.
And I think you didn't get noticed because of really a technicality in the law. But I think that Patty will tell you, we're very serious about sound here. I know she had an issue, and that person's no longer there. So we will take it seriously.
Well, I'm just asking for during the week.
Right.
You know, that's my...
I would hope we'd see you at the meeting.
I'll be there, and
And as I said,
And if there's other people who are affected that want to attend, please let them know.
you know, just the fact that you get a good group together is going to make him sit up and listen.
well, I think that he thinks I'm just the busybody lady that's next door. I have a life, really. You know, and 4:30 in the morning comes really early, and I said to him, you're going to bed when I'm getting up to start my day.
Okay.
Can I just ask for that meeting if the police department could get a log of all the phone calls regarding noise in that
Yes,
area?
yes, sir, we will provide that.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
So, gentlemen, commissioners, is this a matter for the meeting of May the 12th?
Yes, please.
And did you want a notice of any disciplinary action the board may consider
Yes,
on the license for alcohol beverages,
yes,
as well as the license for entertainment,
yes,
and for license for common victular?
yes.
Everything.
They serve food?
Have to.
You're welcome.
The statute says you only have to serve food until like 10 or 9.
Serving alcohol, don't you have to have food?
Yeah, there's a law, even in a bar room.
Yeah, there's a law, but it says you only have to have the kitchen open until 9 o'clock. So if they don't open until 10.
Okay.
We have two applications, one of which had been scheduled for April 28th, New Nom Pan Market Corp. For a beer and wine package store license for 37 Branch Street. It's a grocery market, at approximately 5,000 square feet. That hearing had been scheduled for, it was actually scheduled in the month of March for April 28th. And then there is another application for a restaurant for beer and wine, Lee and Lee LLC, doing business as Grace Garden, for 101 Lakeview Avenue. It's a new restaurant. That hearing has yet to be scheduled. I had a conversation with the attorney that filed the application on behalf of the applicant. I've also, this afternoon, emailed to the board copies of that application. Just want the board to be aware that the Alcohol Beverages Control Commission now requires such documentation that it's almost like a book. And so I have to send it to you in piecemeal, because your email doesn't quite have enough storage to allow for me to send it all in one message. Anyways, that's facts of life I find out through the hard way at the office. But anyways, you're gonna get a series of emails. It's all gonna be part of the same application.
Email, anything like a telegram?
And then there is a third application, which I have not put on this agenda, but you'll see it also. That's all I have to say.
All right. Well, you guys have fun on the 28th.
Anything?
No, thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Coming home, Benjamin.
What happens if we just vote while we sit here for a minute?
Hey, okay, let's talk about the